okay, on internet or on video. Well, as you know, this is the second workshop. Today we're going to talk about the call for solutions. The agenda is, as you can see in the screen. First, we'll talk Lord from CHERRIES Murcia. He will give you a theoretical approach of the methodology, and then Marta and Lotta from wherever will give you will give more into details about how they have applied this methodology on the ground. And then we will give 30 minutes tour for questions and answers. Well, I'm going to start a little bit about the housekeeping rules. As you know, this session will be entirely recorded and distributed among you and other people interested in the CHERRIES methodology. I will kindly ask you to keep your microphone muted, and if you need to ask some question, please raise your hand or use type in the chat, and I will give you the floor. If you can wait until the turn of questions and answers, better. But if you need to ask something because you are about to leave or you are, I don't know, in a hurry, you can do it. And yeah, and that would be all. So, Laura and Marta and Lotte, if you want to introduce yourselves, I give you the floor.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Laure Razzo. I'm working at the EU Business Innovation Center of Murcia, same. We are mainly responsible for the work package, whole work package 4 in CHERRIES, which is the one focused on territorial demand-oriented policy experimentation in the 3 pilot area. And we are also the facilitator of the whole process here for the pilot in Murcia. So you want I start, Ulysses, or I give the floor to Marta and Lotta?
Yeah, well, I think it's better if they present now, as you wish. I mean, you can.
Okay. I'm Lotta Karlsson Andersson, and I am the CEO at the Activa Foundation in Örebro.
And my name is Märta Lundqvist, and I'm the representative from the region of Örebro on the healthcare sector in our part in Örebro. Thank you.
Okay, now I think that you can start with the presentation, Laura.
Okay, so can you see my screen? Yes, okay. So first of all, I would like to congratulate the 4 regions for their selection. We are really happy from CHERRIES team to be able to work with you and hopefully to support you in the implementation of our methodology in your region. So today, as Ulysses presented, I will focus on presenting and sharing CHERRIES, but for the process of the selection of solution providers. We will also provide some supporting tools and relevant information for you to be able to replicate our activities. And at the end of my presentation, I will share with you some insights that we already noted during the process. So just a brief presentation of the whole methodology, just to know where we are staying today. So it's a methodology in 4 steps. We had first of all the need definition that my colleague Lina from Örebro presented you in the first workshop, which was an open call needs, and that was disseminated to identify unmet needs in the healthcare sector in each of the region. Today we will focus on the solution selection, the call for solution, a competitive call that was open for 2 months in each territory also. So I will explain further. And then in the third workshop, my colleague Moises from Cyprus will explain you how we work in a co-creative manner in each of the region, and thinking about the responsive innovation policy mix, And then we have the adoption, in which we will draw conclusions, recommendations about how we implemented the pilot experimentation, and also focusing on the RRI approach. So Lena explained you last 2 weeks ago that we had selected 3 needs, one in each country, in each region. So in Sweden, they decided to work on breaking and preventing involuntary loneliness among elderly. So the needs was identified by a private citizen. In Cyprus and so in Sweden, it's more focused on social innovation, when in Cyprus and Spain, it deals more with telemedicine, e-health and ICT solution, more technical. So in the case of Cyprus, they work on the provision of medical services to Cypriot citizens that live in remote areas and have difficulties, let's say, to access the services in terms of health. And this was identified by Healthcare Professional and Patient Association. When in Murcia, we are working on the early detection of the progression in multiple sclerosis. This need was identified by patient association, healthcare professional, and also university researchers. So we had these 3 needs, and in the methodology of CHERRIES, once we have selected the needs, we launch a call for solution to address these needs and to find some innovative solutions. So this call for solution is a competitive selection, and it was done in 4 stages. So first of all, we had to prepare the call for solutions with the documents. I will explain further, but it's also a work to be done. Then we published the call for solution and have an open process of support to applicants. Then the selection process, and finally the communication on the results. So what I would like also to enhance here, because this might be like, let's say, a common process for any kind of subgrant agreements, but along the process, we really have to focus on the responsible and research and innovation approach, which is basically, I will not enter into details because I think you know already, but it's just to foster the design of inclusive and sustainable research and innovation processes. So and within CHERRIES on the healthcare sector. So in each stage, we have to ensure public engagement, ethics, gender, governance, open access, and science education. This is really important to have this in mind in every step of the project, in the composition of the committees and in the any documents, and also in thinking about the further solution that take into account those aspects. Okay, so our call for solutions, although there are 3, and I will explain 4, I will explain why 4 call for solutions. They are sharing same characteristics that come from the CHERRIES proposal itself, the CHERRIES project. So we had in each region an available budget of 50,000 euros. I would say up to 50,000 euros, because, for example, in the case of Örebro, the solution provider, the first one, didn't need all the budget to carry out the activities. So with the remaining budget, Örebro partners have launched another call. For this, we have 4 calls for solution. I will explain, they will explain later, maybe Lotta and Marta, if you need more information. All of them has also a 10 months co-creation development available. meaning that the solution provider, together with the co-creation team, have 10 months to develop either product, services, methodology. It might be different activities to address the challenge. And what was really important for us is the creation involvement of the solution provider. So we had, let's say, 4 subgrant agreements, but with the same core characteristics. So let's get into details on the process. So first of all, we prepare the call for solution. What is important here is to see that once you have identified your needs, the needs that you will work on, you have to, let's say, convert it or translate it into a challenge, because you have to include all the requirements, might be technical or not, and to make it understandable for the further solution providers, so they can work on their application form according to this challenge. So it has to be also feasible with your timeline, with the budget you have, and realistic, of course. So for this, we establish also some requirements and standards and the criteria for the assessment, which is very important for the solution provider to know how they will be assessed. So in our case, the criteria are mostly the same as in the need, excellence, etc. But we also have a part of RRI. Then also, we identify during this preparation of the call, we identify potential target groups that would be interested in our challenge and would be interested in submit a proposal. So it might be direct target group, but also indirect through our networks. And then another important point is to ensure the project specificities, as I said before, H2020 rules in our case, because it's a H2020 program, the co-creation, that it's not something trivial, but the solution provider has to commit themselves to work in that way too. And we would recommend as far as you can include the challenge proposers into this process, because in the end there are also the users and the person who are interested in finding suitable solutions for their challenge. So once we have prepared all the documents, we published the calls. So as I said, there are 3 in the first time. Let's focus on the third round of calls. There are 3 different. So we have to publish 3 different documents for this. So it is compulsory to have them published in our case for the CHERRIES project in the funding and tender portal. And also we did normal dissemination on our website and social media, etc. It was open for 2 months. And in terms of dissemination, we also organized in each region some webinars. We inform stakeholders, experts, etc. And we prepare all the documents that will be needed for the selection process, meaning all the templates, guidelines for the committee members. All of this was prepared during this stage. And we open an help desk for applicants. So for this, the help desk for applicants was a bit different in each region, because in the case of Sweden, as it was very focused on social innovation, and I think it has been mentioned during the last workshop, the potential solution provider needed to be more supported, so they have an extra effort on that. When in Cyprus and Murcia, we had telephone calls, emails. We also publish questions and answer on the website. It was more normal. And I would say that this was a responsible of the territorial partners, so to have this done. I would also recommend to have a facilitator on the ground that is made available during this phase to answer to these queries. So, so we have, for the publication of the call, we have different supporting documents. So the call for solution description. So I will not enter into details, but you have on one side the description of the challenge, the approach, the need, the requirement, administrative, IPR, ethics, etc. In the case of Murcia, since it was a very technical challenge, we had also some pilot scope and requirements and KPIs, let's say more descriptive document that was also available for the solution providers. And then the application form in which we were asking to provide us some description of the work plan, of the idea, of the Gantt chart, budget, team experience, etc. And the declaration of honor from the representative, legal representative. So this is all for the publication of the call. Something that I didn't mention, but it's important for the further steps. It was open at EU level, meaning that any entity could apply to any of the free calls. Although, as the co-creation has to be done locally with local actors that might not be very familiar with the English, because of course all the documents are in English. It's something that you have to take into account. So once we have finished the publication of the call, what we did apart from the help desk assistance, we also worked on the selection process, meaning we try to identify the suitable and the most expert people in the area to enroll them in the selection committees, always paying attention to our approach, meaning trying to have a gender balanced committee, not only in number, but also in role and position. We appoint a coordinator that would be in charge of trying to find a compromise between all the members on the selection. We also here, you have to pay attention that even you have local committees, they need to know how to speak in English, mostly to read the proposal and to have a good understanding of the proposal, of course. We also inform them of the workload, what we expect from them, how the whole process, how we're going to work in this selection process. And then the first step, once the process is closed, is the eligibility check. So in each area, I'm not sure I mentioned it previously, but as you have Martin and Lothar here, well, Martin and in Cyprus, we as local partners are responsible for we will be the contracting body in that regard. So we were the facilitator of the whole process. So we were in charge of this eligibility check, which is mostly administrative, and then to distribute the document. So we work on the first thing. The committee member had received some guidelines on how to assess the proposal. So they receive in each region the whole proposal and a grid of assessment. So they have to really assess every. Well, you have different categories. And once they've done this individual assessment, they met together to agree on the results and on their evaluations, and then they decide all let's say the 3 best ranked solution providers who were invited to a hearing session, in which the committee members had the chance to explain, ask for more explanation on some of the proposals that may not be clear. They also address the commitment to work in a co-creation way right after. Of course, we don't expect the solution provider to be expert in RI, but just to be aware that it's a different process than a self-grant or than just a normal way, that we expect some commitment in that regard too. And after the hearings, the committee made the final decision. And the supporting document that we used, that you had the eligibility check, as I said before, and then we had the eligibility pass, rejection notice, etc. We also, in the case of Sweden, they did a survey for applicants to see how we could improve the whole process, as I said, because it was a focus on very specific target groups. And for the selection committee, we had different type of documents that we developed, also based on previous projects in demand, to name it. And we also had some, at the end of the process, we made some questionnaire for selection committee members, how they think the process went, and a territorial report that has to be done. So once we have selected, we inform, of course, the applicants on the results. We did our reporting paperwork and published the results. So in that regard, you have also some supporting documents to do this. And so at the end of the process, we had 3 solution providers, let's say. So in the case of Sweden, the organization selected was Laxå municipality, that they will develop some method for outreach activities where lonely elderly people are identified and reached, and a range of different activities. In the case of Cyprus, they also defined the solution as a peer-to-peer ecosystem with innovative telemedicine services. And in the case of Murcia, the development of a technological solution. It's an ICT e-health platform that works with a smartwatch and mobile phone to monitor the movement of the wrist of the patients. And as I explained before, in the case of Örebro, we had a second call with the remaining budget available. So and in the second call, in the end, it was also Laxå municipality who has been selected to develop further what they are doing in the first stage. But I insist, it's 2 different goals in the process. So just a brief overview of the data of the 4 solutions. We had in total 30 eligible proposals from 7 EU countries, and we have engaged more than 30 evaluators. Here, I would also recommend to be really open-minded in the sense that you really need multidisciplinary, multi-actor approach to evaluate the proposal. So we engaged a really different range of experts, patient associations, CSO, business, researchers, social innovation, financial actors. So to ensure that the solution provider is really able and to release at the end a good solution. And in terms of criteria, Mostly we work on excellence, impact, the viability of the work plan, the team experience. If, for example, some of them have worked already in the healthcare sector or in co-creation, and of course, in Cyprus and Murcia, we also insisted on the business sustainability of the solutions, and in all of them, the RI. So next steps, once we have the selection, we have selected the solution providers, we have to gather co-creation teams to negotiate the subgrant agreement that will, in our case in CHERRIES, that is signed between the solution provider and the funding contracting body in each territory, and then we launch the co-creation. So my colleague Moises, next workshop, during the next workshop, you will explain further. So let me now give you a little bit of overview of the lesson learned. For us, it was a really intense and interesting process in the 3 regions. And what we noticed is that it's really important to clarify as much as possible the requirements, the assessment criteria. So the solution provider, the entities who are interested in the call, know exactly what they have to insert in their proposal. The continuous support to applicants was also very important, especially in the case of Örebro, as it might be slightly different from the rest. Of course, set up efficient dissemination strategy. So you have really to identify the good target group to ensure that you get really good proposal and diverse proposals. And as we mentioned also before, it's important to ensure the level of involvement as much as possible of this challenge proposal, because they are the one who know better the challenge, because it's a need they have, and they really need to be included in all stages to identify really how the solution can work, and in views of the sustainability of the solution and the impact. And also try to spread the word about to other relevant stakeholders, because it will be interesting to have them on board for the selection phase. So the selection phase, what we'd suggest to appoint a facilitator that is responsible of collecting the information, the proposal, the help desk, and also to gather these committees. And yes, you need some staff effort allocation on this. Keep in mind the RI principles at every single stage, because it's really what matters here in CHERRIES. The multi-actor approach has been really interesting, because some experts or some stakeholders might not be used to work together, but it was interesting to see the different point of views, and that each one has a say, and it was really collaborative, but it takes time. So you have to be also very transparent in that regard, that it's a commitment that takes quite a lot of time. And okay, you have also to train the members of the committees on the methodology and be clear on the workload, what I just said, and take also into consideration the characteristics of the stakeholders, meaning that if you work with some doctors, then you have to schedule the meeting maybe that at some time of the day that is not maybe suitable for other stakeholders, but it's very important that you deal with this. And for the assessment, yes, it is important somehow to see how is the commitment of the solution provider in this co-creation process, because then it's 10 months of interaction, a lot of meetings and try to find understanding. So it's really important, this, and the importance of local language, because if you have a solution provider who is not able to speak the local language, that might be also complicated to interact with the rest of the co-creation team. And think beyond pilot, where, okay, we develop a good solution, we have to think really if it can be implemented, how, who, by when. So you can also deal with the IPR from the beginning of the co-creation, about, see the way of implement and adopt the solution. So I think you know already this, and with this I will finish my presentation. We will provide you some templates and guidelines for the different stages. Also, you can have access to the report where you have more details on the process. And of course, you will have a personalized support and coaching from us, and a physical meeting. Hopefully, the pandemic can allow this meeting in Brussels. So I will be really happy to answer your question later on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. I think that for sure there will be a lot of questions in the question and answers time. So now what we're going to do is to give the floor to Lotta and Martha. I don't know which one of you will start, but if you want to.
Okay, I will start. So if you can, Ulysses, put up our presentation and the first picture. So.
Okay, what's the moment?
Yeah.
Now. Okay. Now, can you see the PPT?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we have already done the presentations of ourselves. I will just say a few words about the Activa Foundation, who normally works with the disabled people, people with to make them, help them to get into the labor market. And we work with evidence-based methods in this work. And we also work with a lot of projects to develop our methods. But in the case of our participation in CHERRIES, me and Martha now will try to give you a picture of how we in Örebro worked in practical with the call for solutions. You can change, next slide, please. We will try to give you some inspiration in your upcoming work and then support you in how to reflect and plan for your own call. Martha, and next slide, please.
This way of working, as when you work with CHERRIES, this way of has showed us a new way of working with innovation that we think is very interesting, is very good. It has encouraged us to include all different stakeholders at the early stage, and also to think broader what kind of stakeholders is good to include, that we have really reflected upon this, and that has been very interesting, I think. And then also have them in an early stage and then every step of the way. And we also have set that reflection time and reflection during the whole process is something that are included in the CHERRIES process, and that has also been very good and has, I think, contributed to the co-creation process all of the time. So I think that also has been a really good thing during this work. And as you can see at the fourth, we talk about the bottom up perspective, and that has also been one of the things that we really have learned during this way, to also to think that you start with a need and then you go and you try to find a solution. Sometimes it's easy to just jump on the solution directly without really think about the need and what is the right way of dealing with it. But during this process, when you have had all these different stakeholders with you, then you have really, I think, gone deeper to this first need and then the solution. And this has been a very good way of working.
Yes, next slide, please. Though, even the call has followed the same procedure as Laura has been telling us about. Each territory in CHERRIES has different requirements and scopes, and therefore both of the material and the process must be adapted to the regional conditions. In preparation for this call, we made a short film. We also did that in the call for needs, and we have a very good response from that. So therefore we decided to make another film to show on social media, also about the call for solution. And we spread the film in social media, and also this time had a good response from it. And then we also can lead the people who are interested in leading a call into the region's homepage. We also contacted different stakeholders that we thought would have an interest in leaving an application, and also stakeholders that we have already met during the process of the call for needs. We also had digital information like webinars. Due to the pandemic, we couldn't meet in person. And we have that as a form of preparation of the stakeholders. We also offered support for the applicants, like Laura said, some kind of a help desk, even though ours were more organized, that you also could meet with in person with the people with a great deal of experience working with projects and project applications. And this person we were found in the region of Örebro and in Activa. And of course, these were people outside the project group. And some of the applicants used these services. And we have a good response at that they found this kind of help was appreciated. And then we put together the evaluation committee with a wide range of experience and from different parts of the society. Like Laura said, it was very important to have people from very different parts of the society to make a good evaluation. And then we prepared the committee in different ways. And Laura had described the process. First of all, reading all the applications that come in. And then we have a meeting with all the applicants. And then the committee did the evaluation and met the 3 top applications. Like Laura said, also, I think the reflection on this part of the call for solution, it needs a great deal of work that took a lot of time, and it's important that you plan for this and give information both to the committee and the stakeholders, but also to the applicants, so that they know it's going to take rather a long time for them to get the results and know if they are the chosen pilot. But we also, as Laura said, we have we have put out some questions to the applicants, and they say that they also felt that they were taken seriously and that they got to talk about their project. So it's important to make a time plan for the whole of the process and make it known for everybody participating in the call for a solution from the very beginning. Next slide, please, Martha.
Yeah, this is about the evaluation committee, and as we have said, it's good with a broad perspective in the evaluation committee. If you take, for example, the top management, it's important to have an anchoring in the management to, I think, also to find a way to see that this can be a long-term project. It can be something that you can continue with afterwards. And for the funding and for resources in different ways and for decision making. So we think that's a very important thing. And then of course the professional stakeholders, the ones that are going to perform it, the solution in many ways. And also we had an innovation management expert in our group, and before maybe we didn't think about how much actually this would help us. It has helped us a lot to focus on innovation, to get us back on track. So we have really experienced that this function is very good to have in the evaluation committee. And then also, of course, representatives from the target group. And in our case, it was elderly people. So we had pensioners organizations with us. And this was also very good, and it helped us a lot to evaluate. And they could reflect, is this something that I would like, and things like that. And it really helped us. And representatives from civil society, in this case, many of them was the same, because we had, as I said, pensioner organizations. So then we had from both civil society and the target group in the same, but we also had others from civil society. And that also because our solutions was this, to find these collaborations between the region and the civil society and the municipality in it. So that was very important as well.
Yes. Next slide, please.
What have we learned then? Well, bottom up, as we talked before, is the bottom up approach is very important. You come near the target group, you find a solution that is better, is a better use for the target group, and you also find a way of, maybe you can validate it much faster also. So I think when you work, as I work in the healthcare sector, it's easy sometimes to think that you have the solution without asking the target group, because you think that you know everything by yourself. But this way of working, we have shown us that we can find much better solutions together. So this is very interesting. And also, it's also very important to make sure that the Cherrie model is clearly presented before the launch of the call for solution, to have this good understanding and also develop the interest for the innovation later on, because everything is included together. All the different steps go together. So when you have this in the beginning, you have a lot of use through it, through all the process. So it's very good to be precise with this in the beginning. And of course, the RRI principles as well. Lotta.
Yeah, and it's important to involve all of the participants in the call for solutions, so that we create good opportunities for the future. So like Laura said, looking further on the project. And therefore, like Martha said, it's very important in this evaluation committee that you also have this kind of thoughts, that you have top management or politicians or people who have are able to make decisions over from the future and try to involve them already from the start. And then we realize among this in this journey that we need to change the process for innovation work, so that we can have, like Martha said, a more bottom-up approach even in the future, because we can see now when we are in the co-creation process that the pilot, we can support the pilot better this way. We have a better understanding of each other and can also make better results in the project. And many of the participants in our committee had never been involved so early in an innovation process. Like, for example, representatives from the civil society. And we like that we treated them alike, even if you were a retired person representing an organization for pensioners. They have to sit down together with the professionals who are working with innovation every day. So I think that was a good opportunity for them to meet each other. And this representative from the region's innovation department now says that talking about cherries and being involved in this cherries process is the most fun she has right now in her work. So that's a very good grade for our work. And as Laura mentioned, we didn't spend all our money on the first pilot. They didn't apply for all the money. I think we didn't foresee that. We didn't have expected this, because if you seek for project money, it's always the other way around. They are often too little money to apply for. So we had to make a second call, and we had not planned for this, as I said, and we can see now when we have done this and gone through the process 2 times, that we should have had a plan, and maybe in the whole of the Cherries project, what will we do if they don't apply for the whole of the money. So I said we now had to make a second call, and it took a lot of time, as we have to do it in the same way as that's the first call. And I think we could, if we had thought about that in advance, we could maybe have done it in another way to simplify this call. And as Laura said, it's the same facilitator that has won the second call and tried to develop a lot of things they have learned, are learning and have learned in this first time of the first pilot. And as Laura said, we put out some questions to the applicants so that we could learn from this process. What do they think were good or not so good? What can we improve in the future? So for our part, it's very important that we try to work more in this kind of way with the future projects we are doing. Yes, next slide, please. So if you want to know some more, and we are open for questions, but if you after this, so you can get in contact with me or Martha, And then also, of course, with Lena, who is the project leader of the Örebro region project. So thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Walter and Marta. So we're gonna start the turn of questions and answers. If you have some question, raise your hand and turn on your camera. Okay, Teresa, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the rich presentations. I was just a bit confused. How many applications did you have per region? The 30 was the total among the 3 regions, or 30 per region? 30 in total.
Yes, 13 total eligible. There were 2 who were not eligible. I took advantage of this question to inform you that yeah, it's really important to have also this kind of minimal threshold that you put, like the EU usually do, no, for proposals. So yes, we had 30 in totals. It depends really on the challenge, and yes, mostly, for example, in Spain, we had less than 10, and yeah, it depends really on the dissemination, but also, of course, on the requirements and the willingness of each solution provider to work on this. But we were really happy about the results in COVID time, and yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, but my question was just to make sure that I understood well, because with that quite low number, I'm not saying it was not a success, it's just that is a manageable number. Why didn't you go or thought of having a hearing with all? Because this was rather a new process. So I would think that bearing in mind that you would have around 10 applications, if I was in your place, probably I would have thought of having a hearing with all, and not just the 3 top evaluated. Why didn't you go for that?
Well, basically because this was stated in the call for solutions. So it was already stated in the document. So it's finally what we did, just to keep in line with the process. Of course, in your region, I understand that it might be the case, but you are totally free to do that in that way if you think it's more meaningful. Although also for the low results, because some proposal had not been really highly, let's say, evaluated. It didn't really make sense to have all of them if you already assess, I mean, based on the experts and all the stakeholders, that it was not good enough. Then it's also a question. And also, I would say, if you do that, it's take into consideration the time you need to have these hearings, to schedule them, because it's also quite challenging. So it was what was decided at the beginning in the call, so we did it in that way.
Okay, and I have another question now for colleagues from Sweden, because if I understood well, you did not spend the whole budget in the first call, so you decided to go for a second call, but in the end, the winner was the first one to develop further. Of course, I know that this is easy to say or to ask now, but looking back, wouldn't it be a possibility to consider to offer the winner of the first call a reinforcement of the budget and asking them to further develop. I mean, saving all the work, and it's not just the work from your side, it's also the expectations that you raised among the others, because I guess that you had more than one applicant in the second call, and so they were probably disappointed because they weren't able, and actually in the end it was the winner of the first that got also on the second. I don't know.
We have thought about that. Yeah, we have thought about that a lot, and we actually directly, when they didn't want all the money and they were the ones that we selected, we asked them, but I think they were not prepared, or they were not in their thought, they couldn't see the things that they could see after a while, so they said no thank you. Wasn't it like that, Lotta?
Yeah, and I think also when we got further in the discussion, it was more also about the regulation of the CHERRIES project, that we have to make this second call and have to do it in the same way. And we had 5 applicants in the second call, and we were also discussing together in the CHERRIES project if we could offer the money that was remaining to the project that was the runner-up to the winner, but that wasn't possible. So it was like a combination of what we could do in terms of the CHERRIES project and the regulations for the Horizon 2020 project. And also, like Martha said, when we first talked to the winning project, the Laxå municipality, they weren't ready for it. But then when we got out the second call, I think they got the time and had the time to think about what could they do more. As I said, I think it's important to think about this. What could happen what would we do if some applicants don't apply for all the money? Because it's not, we didn't have that idea before that we shouldn't use all the money. So, but I think that's important.
Thank you. Because another option would be to pick the second position and maybe ask, I don't know if the budget fitted their proposal, and but you did not do that either.
Yeah, we had that thought, and we that was our first choice. If you said you can offer the money to the runner-up, the second one in the evaluation, but the rules in the CHERRIES and for the Horizon 2020 project didn't allow that, because the applicant said we can rephrase our project and make it work even with less money, but that wasn't possible to do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know if there is any question or any concern, or if you want to start something. Okay, if you don't, I think we have next session on March, on the 16th, maybe. Let me check. Okay, yeah, on the 16th of March, we have the next session. It will be on Wednesday, and we will talk about co-creation. The colleagues Moises from Cyprus and Gorka from Murcia will give the presentation. And in the meanwhile, probably you will receive an invitation from your pair region in those days to start the one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you have any concern, or if you have queries about what we have been discussed today, you can also talk with them and ask these kind of questions. And apart from that, I think that's all. See you next month. Thank you for coming, and of course, thank you to Lord, Lotta, and Marta for the presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.